Hello, everyone. Steve Anderson here with Work Camper News, and I appreciate you joining us for another session of Right from the Horse's Mouth. And today we're going to be talking about RV inspections and becoming an RV inspector. I'm Steve Anderson, president and owner of Work Camper News, and you see in the photo there in front of you, Terry Cooper. He is the Texas RV professor, and he likes to be called Cooper. And also joining us today, we have Howard Jarris, and Howard Jarris will be working with Mr. Cooper to share with you information about the advanced level 2 training that our folks go through to become RV inspectors. So without any further ado, as we get rolling through this, if you have questions, we encourage you to type those in. You'll see the little tool there. There's a little button you can click. It may have a question mark on it for you or a little arrow, and you can type your question in there. We'll do our very best to get those questions answered as we go along, as well as we'll do some Q&A at the end of the session. So I think that's housekeeping, and Mr. Cooper, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Anderson. And Mr. Howard, I appreciate you being on board with us today. Thank you for making the trip. So a lot of things have been changing in our lives lately, haven't they? What has been totally amazing to me. I got a phone call this last week, and one of the country's largest suppliers of RV parts and equipment that goes to the dealerships and the mobile techs just laid off 40% of their workforce. And then one of the large appliance manufacturers laid off 30% of their workforce. So what we're seeing is a lot of changes for us all. And I'll tell you folks, if you focus on the news, it's kind of depressing, to be honest with you. But Tom Ziegler, the son of Zig Ziglar, has got a new book out, and it's called Stronger. And his thing that he talks about, the second bullet point that he talks about is, I'm expecting the best, but preparing for the worst and maximizing what comes. And I know I'm reading this off the screen to you, but I just want you to really latch onto this, because folks, we have been giving a new opportunity that many of us don't really realize. We're over here kind of sometimes off to the side crying a little bit about what's going on. I can't have, I'm going to lose my job or this or that. But you know what? Sometimes when these situations happen to us, it really has a silver lining that we don't realize. And I can tell you from the Big Red Schoolhouse and the National RV Training Academy, and then the National RV Inspectors Association and the Texan RV Park, this COVID-19 has caused us to really rethink a lot of things, what's really been important for us and things that we needed to do. And we have found out we have some new ways to do some training. So much so that FEMA contacted us last week and saying, we have got to get prepared because we've got hurricane season coming and we're going to have all of these RVs in place. We're going to need you to do training with our inspectors. So it's caused us to do some things and to rethink it. And so I want to walk you through some things. And I just want you to understand, this is about becoming an RV inspector. Later on, we'll do a segment on becoming an RV technician or a mobile tech. But I want us to focus primarily on becoming an RV inspector, because I've had several conversations with people that basically have just told me, Mr. Cooper, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've been at this job. Like one gentleman told me, he said, I've had this job 12 years. And he said they called me to meet them at a location, and they were going to buy me lunch, and we were going to talk about what's going on the rest of the year for our budget. And they slid an envelope across the table, and they said, thank you very much for your service. Here's 2 months severance pay. Turn in your keys, turn in your cell phone. I mean, it just devastated him. So here's what I want us to do. I want us to put that kind of garbage aside, and let's look at a new normal. Now, so this is not going to be doom and gloom. But what I want to do is share with you some hope and some opportunities that are out there. There are things taking place behind the scenes here. We're getting things ready by using cameras and Zoom and doing hybrid classes. And then also we have brought an individual in to help us get our application ready, so that way we can start doing training for the Texas Workforce Commission and all of the workforce commissions across the country, as well as the VA. We know there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be displaced. There's going to be a lot of folks that are going to need training. So what we're saying, here's an opportunity. So come on board with us and help us bring those people up to speed so that way they have hope. Okay? So here's what I need you to do. I need you to think bigger. I need you to think differently than you've ever thought before, because the new normal that we're seeing is just that. It's new. And there's some things that we can do, some opportunities that have come our way that have never been here before. We're seeing, and this is what's blown me away, is how many RV dealers are telling me, because I sat on the board of directors with the Texas RV Association. I'm the chairman of the education committee. And I was talking to one of the dealers, matter of fact, last night, and this individual was telling me, he said, wow, this has been an amazing month for me. And I'm thinking, what? And she said, yes. She said, we have had to rethink how we do our sales. We've had to rethink what we're going to do and how we help people with financing. So we're seeing some things take place differently. But the one thing that she did tell me, she said, I don't know what these people are going to be doing that are buying used units. Well, and you know what? I totally understand, because there's a lot of things taking place in the used market. There's a lot of things taking place even in the new market. And if the new people don't make changes, they're not going to survive. So I want you to know all of this is Howard and myself are here in Athens, and Mr. Anderson is in Heber Springs. So we always kid and say all roads lead to Athens, because they do. When you look at Interstate 20, you look at 35 and 45, how everything kind of converges on around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we are outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth city limits. So here gives you a chance to where you can fly in, drive in, but here it gives you a chance to do some things that you can change your life, get some new training, and get a new career under your belt. Okay. Now, this is the Big Red Schoolhouse, and I apologize if some of you that are online have been involved with some of our other seminars and have been and even have been down here to visit the school. But as I look through the roster, we have a lot of new people, so I have to make sure that we bring everybody up, and we're all starting at ground zero here, and we all know what's going on and where things are happening. Okay. Now, here's some things that are taking place. We know that we've got over 10 million RVs on the road today. That's just today. Now, this is an accumulation of things that have been sold over the, who knows for how many years, but you think about the last 4 years, they've sold over 400,000 units a year. So they've been cranking them up. But here's the crazy thing about it. Over 60% of the used units that are out there are being sold privately from one individual to another, never even going through a dealership. They don't have anybody taking a look at it. So what we've got to think of and see ourselves doing here is that this RV inspection business that we're going to be talking about here and sharing with you, it's a home inspection for an RV. And what is amazing to me is we'll sit and talk to people, and they get it, and they said, oh, so just like the home inspection when we bought that brick and stick house, we can get the same thing on an RV? Yes. And they said, well, is that only on used? No, you can get it on new as well. And I'm going to show you some pictures here in just a little bit of some of the stuff that we're finding even on the new. And so what it's telling me that the dealers are in a bind with trying to get enough technicians, even though the technicians are classified as essential. So the sales departments may be shut down, and they're having to do their things online and maybe do with ads through RV Trader and Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and places like that they're selling units and people are calling in and everything. But still, there has to be the hands-on people to look at these things, to inspect them, to repair them. And so this is the niche market that we've got staring us in the face, that is perfect timing for us that we can do something with. Now, I'm going to give you a location. Hopefully you brought your pen with you, but I want you to take a look at the National RV Inspectors Association. When we formed this organization back in 2014, our intent was to create a boutique business so that way people that were wanting to come into the RV lifestyle could make a living on the road doing inspections. And then others maybe say, I want to go a step further, and I want to also get all the technical so I can work on the appliances and work on the RVs. But this site right here, the NRVIA, stands for National RV Inspectors Association. If you'll go to this website, you can see a lot more information, because obviously we have some time constraints that we're not going to be able to cover everything I wish we could cover. But just know that you can go here and dig in. And we have, this thing is managed and maintained by Stephanie Henson. I don't know if any of you guys have met her. We also have some other ladies and folks that also man the phones and emails and tracking things. So if you've got questions, they can help you. But when we built the National RV Training Academy, you see over here down the left-hand side, we now have taken the training that we were doing for the NRVIA. We used to do that on the road. We've come off the road and now we're doing this in the building. We've got this big 15,000 square foot training facility. So the first course, and I'm going to walk you through this because there's some things that we need to know, opportunities that we need to see that are out here. It has been totally amazing to me how many units we're seeing that people are buying, and they are either money pits or fire traps, you know. And let me show you some pictures. I was sitting out on the back porch yesterday, I'm sorry, day before, and I sent out a note to all the inspectors, and I was just sharing, said, if you've got photos, if you've got stories of things that you've encountered as you're doing your inspection, send me some of those. And I just thought, I'd get a few pictures and stories. My email was blowing up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that information, and I can already see we're going to have to build a booklet because there's just, I mean, it's amazing the stuff that's coming out. Now, this first picture up on the left corner, top left-hand corner, this was a brand new motorhome. And it said it had already been pre-delivery inspection. In other words, that means a technician has gone through this thing supposedly and gone through and checked everything worked, make sure everything was functional. And so then the customer, they come in, they sign all their paperwork and do all they're supposed to do. Well, this particular dealership, I'm not going to tell you who it is because I'm not going to rat them out, but it's kind of like, hey, I hope they kind of get their act together, or otherwise they're not going to be around long. Because how in the world did somebody check the plumbing, the drains, particularly this is the one at the kitchen sink, if you don't even have a P-trap in there? Okay, and then this picture on the top row in the center, this is one of the folks we've got out in West Texas. This is Leon Booth, who also works as one of the instructors for us. He said, Cooper, I'm going to send you some pictures. And he said, you're not going to believe this stuff that I'm seeing out here. He said, this is a 30 amp service, and he said, look at the wiring. And he said, all these people are doing is we've got issues with the wiring where they're trying to pull too much power. And then two, we get in there and these screws are loose. So we've got loose wiring connections. And then you see the top row on the right-hand side. This is an air conditioner. I'm sorry, this is a refrigerator, an RV absorption style refrigerator. Now, what this thing is missing, there should be a baffle so that way it goes from the bottom of this little window and comes up right along the bottom edge of that little coil. And so what it does is it channels all the air through there, kind of like a radiator on an automobile. Well, this particular customer was saying something's wrong. When I get outside and it starts getting warm, starts getting above like 85 degrees or so, the groceries inside my refrigerator start getting hot. This thing had been sold to this man. There's no way, there is no way that anybody did a pre-delivery inspection on that refrigerator. Now, you can see the insulation. I mean, it's there, it's got a little dusty, so it's been there, but he called Leon out and he said, Cooper, Leon, you got to do something. This refrigerator is just not cooling. And then you put in the bottom left-hand picture. Now, this is looking from the floor, looking up into the ceiling, and we've removed the filter. And so what's happening is this little white foamy pad, it's there to create a barrier so that where warm air is forced up through the coils, and what comes out on the other side of those coils is less hot air that we dump into the air conditioner. Well, dump out into the air conditioning ducts into the compartment where you and I are. Well, if this foam pad here is not sealed, what happens is that air goes up through the coils and comes out on the backside, and of course it's being pushed with a fan, and so instead of it being pushed into the ductwork, it's blowing itself right back and it's short cycling back onto the filter side. So what's happening is, and what took place in this situation, is the coils froze up. There is no way anybody did a PDI on that. I'll look that sales manager straight in the eye and say, buddy, you need to come out here and see this. Well, it's checked from the factory. No, That's not how this business works. Every dealer is paid to do a pre-delivery inspection on every unit to make sure everything is functional. And what we have is people taking shortcuts. Now, this picture bottom row, second from the left, see that little circuit breaker, that little wire? Someone kept having problems with the air conditioner circuit breaker. And so what they do? They just got them a little wire and just put them a little screw in there. So now the circuit breaker can't trip. What'd they just do to themselves? I mean, they go home and think that, okay, I'm gonna go get me some rest. Well, the last thing you need to have happen inside that panel box is that thing to catch on fire and burn that thing to ground while you're trying to get some rest. Now, the next picture to the right of that circuit breaker happens to be some roof vents. Now, this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing on the used ones. You can tell people, they may tell you, oh, we've done a really good job. We maintain our equipment. And then you find out that thing's been sitting in storage 2 or 3 years and no one has gone out there and taken a look at those roofs. And so you start seeing this crack on this sealant. So they go up there with a tube of silicone caulk, which silicone does not stick to the rubber roofs. It won't do it. It's just not made to stick. So you have to use a special caulk, butyl caulk. One of the trade names is Dicor. But just imagine what's happening down below inside that RV. We probably have ceilings. They've got water intrusion is coming in. And you see this happen all the time, is that we tell the inspectors when you're going in and start looking at these units, step in the door, close the door behind you and take a deep breath. What do you smell? If you smell mold, then you've got water intrusion. And let me just tell you, that is not a covered peril by an insurance company, because they're going to say, unless you struck a tree or somebody plowed into it or an overpass or something and tore the roof off, this is a maintenance issue. So it is not a covered item that we will pay you for on this insurance policy that you've been paying us on. So you're going to smell either mold, mildew. You may smell that old stinky Aunt Bee's perfume. You know, I'm sure we've all had an Aunt Bee when they want to, you remember when you was a kid and they want to hug on you a little bit, and you'd smell that old perfume that they bought down at one of the cheap variety stores, kind of like Dollar General and stuff. And nothing against Dollar General, so don't misread me on that one. I'm just saying I've smelt enough of that old Aunt Bee perfume that you know that somebody has just sprinkled that thing all over the fabric, all over the carpets, all over the furniture, just to try to mask that smell. These are the kind of things that we're finding. And here's the problem about being an inspector versus being a consumer. Consumers fall in love with the unit. I love the floor plan, and they're already dreaming what they're going to do with it, how they're going to have this experience, and the family, we're going to get them back together. Because folks, it's already beginning to happen. We have people that are being displaced out of their homes, and they're having to buy RVs to be able to take and shelter their home, their family in a home. And so many times they're just looking for something just to put their family in, and with little thought of maybe the person that sold it to them is not lying to them, it's just not telling them everything that's going on with this unit. Now, this last picture on the right-hand side, this is a cutaway of the back of the RV style refrigerator. Okay, the RV absorption. That little curved thing that comes up and turns and goes to the left, that's a candy cane electric heater. So it takes 120 volts to cause that to operate. That's one of the things, if you're doing inspection, you're going to check, because these RV style refrigerators are going to have either candy cane heaters to electric heat to boil that refrigerant, or they're going to use propane. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this, when you see that yellow that's there, this unit has dumped its charge. In other words, it had a blowout, so all the refrigerant that was in there, inside those coils, either the propane flame or the electric heating element were converting from a liquid to a vapor, because inside those coils it's water, hydrogen, ammonia, and sodium chromate. Well, what you're looking at there, that yellow, is the sodium chromate and the ammonia. When this thing blew its charge, it just dumped it. And so the tattletale sign is we have a problem here. Now, to replace these coils, they're typically about half the price of a new refrigerator. And I usually tell people, if you're going to replace the coils, if that refrigerator is over 5 years old, you might want to rethink buying a new one. So when you start looking at some of these refrigerators, just the little 2 doors may cost you somewhere around about $1,800 to $2,400. Or the big 4-door units, particularly those that got ice dispenser and water dispenser coming out the door, you know, you're already popping about $4,500 to $5,000 for those things. So knowing what kind of issues we're having with these units, and this is where it pays off for people to get the inspection, because just one item can more than pay for the inspection cost. And so I want you to keep this in mind and see where we're coming from. Right now, we need across the country, we need about 1,800 inspectors. And I'll tell you, we're pushing it. We're pushing it hard to have about between 450 to 500, because people things change in their lives, and some people come off the road and so on. So, you know, some people, maybe they're taking a gig that they're working at, you know, doing a work camping job, and so they can't get away and do inspections in that area. So a lot of them are pulling back. So we're getting phone calls and emails from all over the country, and places that I would have never thought that someone would need an inspection. And then other places just blowing up. I mean, um, I got a message from one of the inspectors, and he said, Cooper, he said, I am overwhelmed. He said, I've already done 5 last week, and he said, I'm doing 1 now, and I got 3 more waiting in the hopper for me to do. And he said, I really didn't want to put in this much time, but he said, how do you say no? Because there's no other inspector in this area. And so this was up in the San Francisco, up in the Northern California area. And so what's amazing to me is how many people are buying these RVs, whether they're new or used, and they're calling looking for an inspector. So whether you're traveling on the road as a work camper, or you're fixed someplace, you have a fixed operation, there's opportunities. And do yourself a favor in where you're sitting. If you're fixed in a certain location, say like you're a fireman, you say, hey, I got some time, I could do this, or EMT, so you've got some time off, say maybe I want to run a business on the side or do some things. Google that area where you are and see what pops up when you put in RV inspectors in your city, and just see what the demand is. Now, it's you know, it's kind of one of those weird things. People, when they come from the northern states and they come down to the southern states, like to Florida and Texas, Arizona, we see a lot of transition. So a lot of inspections take place in the southern states. But what happens is, when these people find out you can get an inspection, then when they go back home up north, then they start looking for inspections up there as well, because they say, well, hey, I need to get a home inspection on my RV, just like I did my house where I bought. So I know what I'm buying and making sure I'm getting a good deal. So keep that in mind, that your area, if you have you have a lot of snow and stuff in the winter, it could very well be that you could travel down south and do things down that part of the country, and then come back home come spring when things start thawing out a little bit. And don't be a bit surprised if you don't stay pretty busy, people ramping up trying to get things going. Okay, so let me show you how this is laid out. Now, like I say, we formed the National RV Inspectors Association back in 2014. We traveled on the road doing training. Howard and Pam followed us. You know, we would do the Andersons and the Coopers would do the RV maintenance training. And we started out, this was the core that we were doing, was going to be doing the RV maintenance. And we have a lot of folks that sit in that class that come to us and say, look, all I want to do is just know how to take care of my own unit, because I know that you keep telling us this 80-20 thing. 80% of the problems you have with an RV are going to be easy to fix and easy to access if somebody will just show you how. So this basic class, this RV maintenance basic class, what this is, this gives you an overview of all of the class, all of the material in these RVs, because it's, you know, yes, you do things in the classroom, but it's also hands-on, and go see it, put your hands on it, take the tour, take it apart. And we got what we call the petting zoo, parts and pieces that we've taken apart, and, you know, cut propane tanks open so you could see what they look like on the inside, whether it fits on a motorhome or a travel trailer. Taking compressors for air conditioners, cut those open so you can see how things work and get a better understanding. Well, this is also the foundation for all of the other classes. So not only do we have, let me back up, I didn't want us to go that far that quick. what we've got is this RV maintenance course is the foundation. And those of us, if you've taken any college classes, you remember where you took that English 101 and everybody was in that class. You might have been a psych major, you might have been pre-law, pre-med, whatever. Everybody had to take English 101. Well, that's the way this is. The level one is their core class is the RV maintenance. So you'll be sitting in that classroom and you may say, well, I'm planning on becoming a level 2 inspector because I'm going to start my own business. Well, you're there getting your level 1 inspection piece done. Howard's going to talk you through, show you how you do that, because not only are you going to do some things with this class, but he's also going to have you take a couple of tests so that way you can get your certification as a level 1 inspector. And level 1 is what we call VIN verifiers. Basically, an insurance company might send you out to look at a unit to get you maybe a one-page, one side, on the back side, some things they want you to look at, make sure the air conditioner is blowing cold air, and just do you see anybody that's tore the fenders off of this thing? And then they ask you even get up on the roof. None of that, but they just want some of the things, make sure they're working. If it's a motor home, they'll maybe have you fired up, and you don't want to drive it because of the liability, but but basically that's what a level 1 is. Well, in that class where you're sitting there learning as a level 1, you are going to be sitting there with somebody, maybe they're saying, hey, you know what, I'm just want to learn how to maintain my own unit. That's all I care about. And then you may have some others over there that are working for a dealership. And so that dealership has sent them to class so that way they can learn, because the dealer knows they're not getting any technicians. And there is no secret stash of technicians out there. Because I get phone calls, I kid you not, 3 or 4 phone calls a week. And people say, hey, I've got this, and they start trying to sell me on the benefit programs and all that. Like, that sounds good, but don't have anybody. And they say, well, if I raise my price, don't have anybody. And so what happens is that these dealers are struggling. They really are. And then we have the situations where people are selling their RVs, and somebody comes along, buys it, and if they don't know how to maintain it, then they've just bought themselves a money pit. So in that class, you may have inspectors, you may have people want to learn to work on it, you may have dealer technicians, you may also have people that want to start a mobile service business. And we'll talk about that in a separate webinar later on. But I want us to focus on just the inspection piece, because you can do this as you travel across the country, or you can do it from a fixed operation. Now, the next step is taking the advanced inspector training with Howard and Pam, okay? Now, what they do is they take you from the RV maintenance basic training piece and they up the game on you. And he's going to talk about that. We're going to turn this over to him in just a few moments here, so that way he can share with you what all they're going to do, because they're going to teach you how to scope an RV. There is a procedure and a technique that you want to learn, so that way you don't miss anything, because people are depending on you and I to do these inspections, so that way they know when they get their report. This report might be 60, 70, 80 pages long with tons of pictures and write-ups. So this is the only way they've got to be able to sit down with that seller and say, we have this problem, we need to negotiate a better deal, or I need these repairs done, or I won't buy it. Because you don't want to sign for anything unless you know what you've got. Now, these are the facilities that we've built here at the National RV Training Academy. Now, this is one of the big classrooms. This happens to be classroom number 3, which primarily this is one that Howard and Pam use. They like this one because it's over in a corner, but it's also, and I'll show you here in a couple of pictures or so, where it's also has a catwalk, so that way a balcony that all the students can go up and look over and see the roof of these RVs. Now, what you're looking at here is the service bays, and so we've actually purchased RVs that you can inspect. Now, Howard's going to share with you, I'm sure, because he's pretty thorough in his presentation. But basically, if you don't have an RV, don't panic. Don't panic. We've got plenty of units for you to inspect, things to get your credentials that you need. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this RV maintenance piece a little bit. Okay. Now, this happens to be a very large class. Now, this instructor is Todd Henson. He's a master certified technician. We run out of room in the classroom, so we had to set up out in one of the service bays. And so what he's doing here is doing a live 5-day hands-on class. Now, here's the cool thing about this class. We've got it set up to where you come and you take the course. And then you have 1 year to come back and repeat it at no charge. Because what we have found is that if we give you a chance to take it over again, it just helps you solidify the information. And then we'll also share with you, there may be another class coming behind this class that you might want to get involved with, whether it be RV inspector, or it might be air conditioners or refrigerators or furnaces. So we want to set it up so that way when you come and take this 5-day class, remember this is the RV maintenance, this is the basic, this is the English 101 we were talking about a while ago, but this course sets you up so that way you've got your foundation. Now, NRVIA is also going to give you 1 year, the first year membership to the NRVIA. And then after that, it's $299. But what they've done is they want to make sure to get your feet going and get you rolling. So that 1644 has got that 1 year NRVIA built into it for you, okay? So just keep that up. Just keep that in mind that you've got 1 year to come back and do a do-over, and you got the 1 year membership. Now, the only thing I ask about the do-over is just make sure that we've got room in the class for you. Thus far, we've been able to accommodate and bring in some of the folks that have already gotten their credentials and everything, but just want to make sure that we've got a seat for you. And then I'm going to ask you to bring your books with you and your tools. And then I also want you to be a big brother and big sister. In other words, there's going to be people in that class that are sitting in there. This is their first exposure to it. And now you have had this thing and you've already taken the course, so you kind of know the lay of the land. And I want you to help them, because sometimes the instructor is teaching it and someone sitting next to you saying, I'm not getting this, I'm not understanding. And it may be just that one or two words or phrases that you use may change everything, where they said, oh, I got it. Because we know adult learners have these islands of knowledge. We've learned things here and we've learned, picked information there, or maybe it's specialized in this thing. And so what happens is when you come to this RV maintenance course, we help you bridge over some of those islands of knowledge, tie things together. And I guarantee you, you will have aha moments when you come, because you think, okay, now that makes sense. That's why that RV did what it did. Now, okay, that makes sense. I got it. I got it. And all of a sudden you realize it ties into something that you already knew. And so we want to make sure that we give you as much of that as we possibly can. And so what we do is it's intense, that 5 days, but it's very, very necessary. Now, let me show you kind of an overview of the course. We've broken it down into the 5 days. We're going to spend very, very heavy on the electrical, because we've got to make sure that you understand these things have 3 separate electrical systems. Every RV has 3 electrical systems. We're going to show you how to use a multimeter. This is part of the tool list that we'll send you and say, okay, you're going to need these tools. And folks, we're not talking about going down and having to buy a lot of tools. We're talking minimal. I mean, the multimeter, I think we've got them now we can pick them up down at Lowe's for somewhere less than $100. The gas manometer, so you can check for propane leak tests, about 60, 65 bucks. And the polarity tester that you plug into the wall receptacle, it's got the 2 amber lights in the red, that's going to cost you maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 bucks. So no big deal, no big deal at all. And then the other tools are screwdrivers and pliers and things that most of us already have in our toolboxes. And we'll send you the list. Then we're going to get into propane. I'm going to show you how to do a propane leak test. And you think, well, why do I need that? Folks, trust me. When we were working with FEMA, I guess it was 2 years ago, we were receiving units that came straight from some dealerships and some units that came straight from the factory. It was totally amazing to me is how many units had propane leaks. I mean, we had one unit in there had 6 separate leaks in it. And you just think, did no one, I mean, someone dropped the ball, because no one checked this, or we wouldn't be finding these kind of things. And then you got water leaks everywhere, and things that you and I will find as we do these inspections. And that's what they did, is they brought us in to do the inspections, and then we had to bring in technicians to do the repairs because FEMA didn't have anybody. So we've been able to make some headway with those folks, and they're good people. They just need somebody to help them handle the volume of RVs that are coming at them. Okay. Appliances, we're going to talk about how they work, and there's certain little things that we can show you, kind of like, here's these 10 tips, the most common things that you'll see. So this it's critical. It's critical that you get that hands-on piece, so that way it makes sense to you. And you'll be doing a lot of your own repairs And it's amazing to me, while people are here taking classes, you go out there after class, they'll be out there putting around, working on this, working on that, and they'll come to class and say, well, I fixed that problem. That thing's been bugging me. I got it all figured out now. Because there's something that was said in class, it made me realize all it was. And so that's what you want. You want to know that you got not only book knowledge, but you got the hands-on piece. And that's the whole thing about both of these classes that we're talking about here for the inspectors. It's hands-on. It's not just kill you by PowerPoint. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of reading, a lot of foundation. You're going to have some homework. There's no doubt about it. But because there's hands-on, because most of us are hands-on learners, okay? But what if you're one of those individuals that cannot get off? You've already burned your vacation because you've been sheltered in. Don't sweat it. When we were traveling on the road, we recorded every segment that we did. So that 5 days that we were doing classes and the 5 days we're doing now, we have recorded those and we put them on a flash drive. And we call it the home study. Sometimes you'll hear the guys call it the take-home technician series or the home study option. It all means the same. So what we do is the same books that you use in the classroom, if you were here for the 5 days, you would have those same books shipped to you with the wafer, and there's some coupons in there. And I'm going to show you on this next slide some of the things that you get. Now, the home study piece is only $397. Now, it does not come with the NRVIA membership. However, we have a lot of folks that they've got a little RV technician knowledge, a little bit of technical knowledge. Maybe they've owned an RV before. We've had several individuals that can take this home study and move right on into Howard's level 2. But I'm going to encourage you to come and take the live class with us, because it's always given the week before Howard's advanced class. So you could come in, and we have a lot of people even buy the home study and then go through it, get it down, and then they come and they take one of the coupons that's in that box. See that here it says bonuses down below? Well, there's a $300 coupon in there, so that way when you come and take the live class, we're going to give you $300 to apply as credit to that 5-day class. Because guys, the home study is great, but if you're a hands-on learner, you really need to get your carcass down here and let's get your hands on things, taking some stuff apart. Now, if you've taken the home study, you went that option, then you're also going to have a second coupon in there that's going to be worth $200, and it'll go towards your membership of the National RV Inspectors Association. Because remember, this is the core class. This is the level 1, but we got to get you have to be a member of the National RV Inspectors Association in order to move to the next level. Now, this next slide is going to be one that Howard is going to be able to share with you guys. But basically, this $200 coupon, you will apply it towards your $499 membership to the National RV Inspectors Association, okay? So there's 2 options for you to go through, one being the live class with RV maintenance, or you can come and take the home study version. And then if you want to take your home study and use your coupons, come and take the class, okay? So there's all kinds of ways to set you up so that way you can get this foundation of knowledge, so that way Howard can take and run with you guys. Because I'm telling you, you think you got hosed down on the first 5 days, you hadn't seen anything until they start really pouring it on you in the 5 days that they're going to spend with you, helping you learn how to become a level 2 inspector. So Howard, I'm going to turn this over to you, and just let me know and I'll advance the slides as you're ready, and we'll move through this thing, okay?
All right, thank you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Anderson, thanks for allowing me to share on the webinar. Can you hear me okay?
You're coming in clear. You're coming in loud and clear.
All right, as Mr. Cooper mentioned, I'm Howard, my wife Pam. We are the advanced trainers for the NRVIA for the level 2 certification. So once folks finish up that level 1 and go ahead and do a little bit of extra with us, that gives them that level 1 certification. We go ahead and then take them on to the next level. Now, Pam and I, we took that level 1 class back in early 2014. It was just a small group. We took that class with the intent of becoming RV inspectors. And so we have been at this quite a while. When Mr. Cooper starts talking about the inspections and the process, and we've been at this now for 6 years. Our most recent client purchased what was perceived to be a almost new, a 2-year-old unit, 2018. at the time of this recording, and the owner told me never lived in it. Well, when we finally got there, we found out the facts that that was not true. As I was standing there outside the door, a dog came up and the owner said, "Oh, don't mind the dog. Uncle Frank lives here." Oop, telltale sign. And so we found lots of things on the report that we use. That previous slide there, you saw a purple monkey. The reason that monkey's in the picture is we call our reports the purple monkey locator. That trying to search out that big hairy problem, so that new RV owners don't have to buy a money pit. They can find out before they actually spend that money what the issues are. So Mr. Cooper, you can move that back again. So here we are. We've got the training facility, as Mr. Cooper mentioned, is enormously comfortable. It's an environment where we control the weather. We don't have to be outside in the rain. We can control the temperature. We've got 15,000 square feet there. That center picture, you can see folks up on our deck right above the classroom. And I'm up there and I'm showing students, the inspectors, what it is we're supposed to be doing on the roof. Because if there's problems in the roof, guess what? There comes those smells inside that Mr. Cooper was talking about that we're trying to cover up with Aunt Bessie's perfume because water has leaked in. And a little bit more, and there's a shot on the right. There's the TV screen. We've got cameras now on stabilization devices as I move around, so you can see exactly what I see and what it is that we're looking for when we start evaluating these RVs from the roof. Mr. Cooper? All right, so this is how it goes. This is just like the level 1 class. It's 5 days. And so in day 1, we start setting the foundation for that inspection business. We go back over the code of ethics and the standards of practice, which are listed in the nrvia.org website. So if you go there and you click on the About Us, you'll see those. But we delve deeply into that because that becomes the foundation of an RV inspection business. So when a client asks you to do certain things, like, hey, would you just skate a little bit on this one and help me out? We know that by our code of ethics that we're not going to do that. So we have to dig deeper into those. And we talk about those, do some technical review. As inspectors, we're not repairing. All we're doing is operating and determining whether that component is performing its intended function with little or no deterioration visible, or is there some other issue? So that's our job. So we start there with day 1. In day 2, we do 2 major things. We start talking about fluid analysis and then the software we're going to be using to create these inspection reports that help our clients understand more about the RV that they're thinking of buying. Now, fluid analysis, this is we take oil and coolant samples from the motorized components of these RVs and send them to a lab. And then we get the results back. And this has been an enormously helpful piece of information for our clients who are buying motorized units or even trucks. They're going to be pulling these big, heavy fifth wheels, because what we have discovered in the past 6 years, 5 years worth of data, which we've just accumulated, is that a good 40 to 50% of the samples that we pull indicate an abnormal or critical situation going on with that component. And that's a big deal, especially when a diesel pusher's engine costs $30,000 to $50,000 to replace, or these V10 Triton engines that are in these Fords that are on the Class C's and Class A's. So we can give our clients some very useful information by this process. So we talk about how to do it, pulling samples on a live format, have you folks do that afterwards. And then we're using a software package called Home Gauge. And this is used by home inspectors around the country. We have adopted it for the RV inspection process, since this is a home inspection, but for an RV. And so we teach you how to use that, what to say, and how to present these reports so that they're useful to our clients. And then at day 3, we both days 2 and 3, we start talking about risk management, things that you might be able to say or do in your business that could get you into trouble. So we need to talk a little bit about that. So when somebody asks you, would you buy this RV? You have to realize if you answer that question in a particular way, you could put your business at risk. So we talk about a lot of things like that. We do a little bit of talk about business setup. Then we spend the rest of the day, as those pictures indicated in that earlier slide, out and showing you what you actually need to do step by step to get through a complete inspection. Now, most people think that probably the inspection is like checking the VIN number, looking up the tailpipe, which is what our clients perceive, and that is not true at all. These take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours to complete, depends on the level of inspection that client is selling and the type of RV that's being inspected, and the prices that the inspectors are charging are anywhere from $300 to $1,000. It's we don't set prices; it's completely up to them. But these are enormously detailed. So we have a 15-page walksheet checklist that we go through, and we touch about 500 things. 500 things we're evaluating, looking at, and so a lot of information. So we need to walk you through that step by step on how to do this process. Now, day 4, you're out on your own. Either you're brought an RV here, or you've rented one, or we pair you up with somebody who has one, and you're going to go through the process that we just went through on day 3 and do a full mock inspection with all testing, the RV hot skin, the propane leak test, uh, going through the water systems, complete start to finish. And so that day is completely spent on that process. And then in day 5, we kind of hit you with some review. Do you have any questions? Talk more about the home gauge software. And then we do have a test that we take. It's just a material review to be sure that the important aspects of this process are cemented in your mind before you leave. And we complete the day with certificates and pictures and things like that. But Mr. Cooper, next slide. The thing about this process is when you leave us, you're not done. You're not done. You still have 2 more weeks that you have us around. So we'll talk about a little bit further on that. But the requirements to complete the course. So within the first week in class and the 2 weeks following, we're going to be completing 2 full mock inspections, one on a towable RV, one on a motorized. So if you come here and at the class you do a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, then the 2 weeks following the course, you'll be doing a motorized RV or vice versa. And when you do those full mock inspections, each one you'll be generating a report using that home gauge software and then forwarding that to us. And the really cool thing about this is, how do you know if you're doing the right thing? Well, Pam, who has been doing this with me for 6 years, she sits down with those reports, spends an hour or 2 with each one, goes through page by page, and it reads what you're saying. And if she doesn't understand what it is that you're trying to convey to us, then how is your client? So she'll make useful comments on that PDF that you send us. Then we send it back so that you can learn from the step, that first report, so that you can take that information into your second report. And then she'll do that on the second one as well. So by the time you complete the course, you've done 2 full mock inspections with review of the reports to help you understand this process. And then we'll also have you pull some oil and coolant samples on either your RV or a tow vehicle or your car, and fill the forms out, send them off to the lab, get the results back so you can go through that process. And so those are the main things you have to do: fluid analysis, and then 2 complete inspections with reports to complete the class. And we like you to do it 2 weeks after, so it's a total of 3 weeks. Sometimes life sets in. All we do is ask that you keep us updated if you're having some issues getting through the 2 weeks after the class. Mr. Cooper, next one, please. All right, so bonuses. So when you come to the course, you get a wafer drive. And of all the material that I present in class, resources, points of inspection, contracts, things with home gauge, PowerPoints, you get a wafer drive. And that wafer drive has now grown to about 1.7 gigabytes worth of data, including useful resources after class, suppliers, catalogs, all sorts of things. So it's something that you will be using in an ongoing basis to help you continue to develop your business entity. And as I mentioned, you have us for 2 weeks following the course. So as you're out doing your second inspection, you're working with home gauge, or you have questions, then all you need to do is reach out to us by phone or email, or I've even been using Zoom lately to be able to see what people are seeing on their screen so that we can help them get through this process. And then later on, we've had inspectors who take the level 2 class and then later decide that they would like their spouse to participate and work with them. So they come back and take the class. And if that is the case, then you may also come back and audit the class again with them so that you can become a dynamic duo inspection team. Mr. Cooper, next. All right, so there's lots of the benefits of the course is lots of engagement with Pam and I during the class. Pam co-teaches it with me. There's usually always lots of questions. Class runs from 8 to 5, but sometimes I'm always there early, 7:30. If people are having issues with the software, whatever it is, I'm there after class. So I'm typically there from 7:30 in the morning till 6:30 at night. So it's not just 8 to 5. And I realize I need to deal with people individually, depending upon their skill set, what their RVing experience is. And so we've adapted to be able to do that so that we can get everybody through the course. And I also talked about the documents. And then as soon as you've completed the requirements, as soon as I've gotten those 2 reports and we've gotten your fluid reports, I let Stephanie Henson know, our director of administration, and she goes ahead and she goes into the computer and flips you over to a level 2 inspector. And then that gives you the ability to be able to go out there with your RV inspection business and to create those kind of dollars that I mentioned earlier. Mr. Cooper? All right, so something recently that happened due to situations in the world. And we've talked about this for a number of years, and I was a little reticent about actually trying to do this, always keeping it in a live format. But situations came up where we decided that we really need to try to do this in an online format. So using Zoom and cameras and the technology that's now available, could we teach this in what we call this hybrid level 2 in an online format? So we have done this once so far, and we had a group of almost 30 inspectors in that course, including one from Canada, and we ran them through the 5-day course, did the exact same thing, started at 7:30, finished up at after 5 o'clock, and the inspectors were able to interact with us using the technology. And so we're getting those reports back right now as we're going through, and Pam's looking at those, and those have been as good, if not better, than folks in the live class. So that's my gauge of success of a program, is what the reports look like when people turn them in to us. So this is a new thing. It's a new thing for us, but so far we're very pleased with the results we're seeing, and we're going to do this again and see how that goes. But know that that format is out there, and if you have any questions about this, you may reach out to us directly at howard@nrvia.org, or you can also reach Stephanie at shenson@nrvia.org. And please let us know if you have questions about the inspection business. We are here to assist as you're looking at this possibility. Mr. Cooper?
Well, anytime you try something new, you kind of probe and ask questions. And so we started getting, questionnaires back from people, and they're saying, and this is some of the things that they were saying about the hybrid class. Now, the reason why this will work for us on the inspector piece is that we know that you can do all of this on your own as long as somebody coaches you. And then the beautiful thing about it is that you access this hybrid class through a portal on the internet. So we have a course called Thinkific. The course is loaded there. It's got all the videos, everything you're going to need, the information that Howard's been talking about. You'll also get that wafer as well. But here's the thing. If you get stumped a little bit, you just back up, play that section over again, because he's broken it up into sections. So keep an eye on this. This might be something that would work for you. So that way, if you couldn't take off and come this way right away, this might be a way to get you going so you get your business up and running. Okay. Now, this is the last slide, and I just want to share with you folks that we have really thought about this. How can we help people move forward? I just believe that many times we have folks out there, and you can tell us better than anybody else, if you're one of those folks, that could take what you have already been doing with the career that you have, and you see there's just some change coming in your life. Take those skills and that knowledge and convert it into something that you can take care of you and your family. Like Howard was talking about. I mean, some of these low-end units, I mean, it's $300 on those, and you can go in there and knock those out pretty quick. Now, the big motorhomes, that's a different story, because those are big boys. But if you can make 1,000, and I've seen some folks, because they're doing a lot of the fluid analysis and stuff, are getting up around about 1,500 for them. It's just a matter of what you're going to be doing for these people, the depth of the inspection, like he was talking about. And here's the cool thing about the software that he's got. You actually can take it around with your companion, just your cell phone. Howard, what you guys are using the Samsungs, and what size or what model is that you're using?
I'm using a 2-year-old Samsung Note, the Note 8, and so any of the Android phones work perfectly with the home gauge, what they call the companion app.
And so, I wonder what happened there. Guess we got to better back up to the next slide. There we go. So what happens is, see, they can go around with this thing and you can take pictures, you can make your comments, and then you sit down and clean them up a little bit, and it just speeds up the process with your inspection. Of course, now he's got a check sheet that you're working off of and all. So, and of course, the beautiful thing about it, there's already got the form set up, the letters that you send out to your client, and because you get paid before you show up. Do you hear me? You get paid before you show up. So that way you got your money and you take care of your customer. And it's amazing how many folks will maybe find things in these RVs. And so the client takes it, has it repaired, and then they come back to you and said, hey, can you do this? Can you re-inspect this for me? Can you do a do-over on it? Sure. So typically what most of the inspectors are doing is they say, we're required to re-inspect the life safety piece. We're talking about propane leaks and things like that, anything that would put people in danger. And then we'll go back and inspect those components that have been repaired. So that way you've got yourself covered. So you pick up extra revenue off of that. And then a lot of these customers are coming back and say, can you come by and walk with me, spend some time with me? I'll pay you to come do a walkthrough with me, show me how everything works. I kind of got that walkthrough with them, but it was like 45 minutes and I don't remember half of what they said. Or what if you bought it from an individual that maybe, wasn't there, maybe the person had already passed away, so there was really no one that was knowledgeable about that unit. So to have somebody like an inspector like yourself that's already been through the unit, has inspected, knows where everything's at, knows how it functions, how it works, then you have an opportunity to generate a third level of income on these things. Okay, so this is some opportunity for you. So I just want to make sure that you understand there is hope. We have opportunities and things that we can do differently than we've ever done before. This may be the time for you to be able to cut those golden handcuffs off that from corporate America's had you held and step away from it. And I'm speaking from experience, folks. I'm just telling you, I have had those jobs at corporate America where I'd wake up in the morning and I just did not want to put my feet on the ground. I did not want to go to work. I despised that job, but I had to do it anyway because it brought in a nice paycheck. But wouldn't it be nice if you could be in business for yourself? Now, one thing we have not shared that we need to make sure we point out to you is Mr. Anderson has created a small biz program, small biz RV owner program, and he's got that as well. So that way, if you're not sure how to set up this business, don't worry about it. He's got it all laid out for you. I mean, it's cookie cutter stuff. And once you know the system, once you know how to work through it, and you just follow the pattern, follow the system, you can get there. I mean, like I say, we have trained an awful lot of folks over these last 8 years. I think I was looking at the numbers the other day and somebody said we had trained over 1,400 individuals through the RV maintenance and through the level 1. And then we've had not quite as many come through the level 2 inspector, but still, if they can do it, you can too. So come on, take a serious look at this. This might just be what you're looking for. So Mr. Anderson, are there any questions or anything that we need to answer for folks?
Well, there have not been very many come in. We will refresh their memory that they can simply find the little box where there's either a question mark or a little arrow that they can click on, and then they can type their question in. We would gladly answer those. The only question that did come in, and as we might expect, related to what's taking place because of the COVID virus, wanting to know about when live classes would be resuming in the Big Red Schoolhouse. And if you want to get into that a little bit, that'd
Sure.
be great.
The next live class, this is what we're set up for, and it looks like this is what our county commissioners are going to allow us to do, will be July the 13th. So, and I understand we were planning on using this webinar as an evergreen, but we also know that there's people who need to know what can I do. But we are planning to be back in class, butts in the seats, July the 13th. Now, there is a class that we will be doing with the hybrid that the RV maintenance piece will start May the 25th, and then Howard will be picking it up and running the week 2 on June the 1st. So here's an opportunity for you to, if you still kind of locked down, you don't have any, can't get away, can't do some things, this might be the way for you to do that. And so that way you can, I don't know about you, but I've watched about all the Netflix videos I watch. Hallmark's a great place to go, but I tell you what, I can tell you the plots to all these stories. So, so long and short of it, well, you got this time on your hands, take advantage of it. So July the 13th will be the next live here in Athens, Texas class, where you can come and sit in the classroom. But if you've got time, jump on this thing May the 25th. I know that is Memorial Day, but that's okay. We're going to work around all that, and we'll be getting everything going so that way you guys can get to rocking and rolling here. Now, I'd like to share something with the ladies. Men, just kind of close your ears. You don't need to hear this. Ladies, an RV inspection business is a great business for a woman. And the reason why is that typically women are better learners because they pay attention when they're told that you need to do it this way. Ladies typically do it because we how we guys are sometimes. No, I could do it differently. I could do it better. Well, usually the ladies are, no, I have been in this business way too long. I have cooked too many cakes. I have run a business. And I know my procedures. And if I follow my procedures in my business, it works. This lady in the bottom left-hand photo here, her husband's health had begun to fail a little bit. So she came and took the classes. And so they work as a team doing the inspections, but she carries a majority of the load. We also have a lot of ladies that are inspectors that are solos. And we have a lot of customers that ask specifically for a lady because they said that they would rather deal with another woman than they would with a man. And I questioned Lady E, my wife, about it. She said, Cooper, don't you understand that sometimes you guys try to talk over our head, or you bully us sometimes, don't even realize you're doing it. It's just second nature to you guys. I'm thinking, well, okay. But she said, I understand. I understand. We even had a lady that was doing inspections, and she'd been doing it for a little over 2 years. She had been a school teacher. She'd basically burned out in the classroom, and she came and became an RV inspector. She had a young daughter that she had to take care of, and she kept going back to a specific dealer up in North Dallas. And these guys, that service manager, come out to her and said, would you please sit down with me? I want to talk to you about taking a job. She said, I'm doing inspections. I'm doing real well. I can kind of set my own schedule and do what I want to so I can be at my daughter's plays and activities. And he told her, he said, look, I need a lady to come and be a service advisor and to interact with the customers when they come in. He sat down and quoted her a pretty nice little salary, plus gave her health benefits. And that was the big thing that really won her over, was the health benefits and the flexibility with her schedule. And when I talked to her last here, it's been a couple of months ago, she said she's got all the work she can stand. And she said, they're very, very pleased with what I'm doing. So, and she had apologized to me because she said, Mr. Cooper, I feel like I am betraying you and leaving the RV Industry Association, the Inspectors Association, because I'm leaving. I thought, no, 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 no. No, you did exactly what you needed to do. You need to leave where you were having so much stress in your life, and now you can have a life with your daughter. Now you can have an opportunity that you can live a life that makes life what it's supposed to be, something that you enjoy doing. So women, please do not back up. There's opportunities here for you. And Howard and Pam will take you through this. They have dealt with many ladies. They understand. We understand how things are. So whether you're a solo or you have a partner, not a problem. So come on. And like I say, you can go to the nrvta.com website, or if you have questions, and you can see Howard and Stephanie's email addresses are still there. And then also we have here through the National Training Academy, if you want to send some questions in to info@nrvta, so nrvta.com, okay? And we'll help you out all that we can. But just realize there is hope, there's opportunity, and sometimes that's all we need to get ourselves launched and repositioned so we can take care of our families and get that stress off of us, because we don't need to live those stressful lives. Mr. Anderson, unless you have some questions,
We do.
Oh,
And
good.
as it turns out, we have a number of ladies who have asked questions. The first one is from Debbie, and she is asking, would this training apply to a converted Class B van as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely, it will, because you're using the 12-volt system, you're using the 120-volt system, and I don't know, Debbie, do you have propane in that unit? So not all Class Bs have propane, but if you do, you'll have propane as well. But yes, it will.
Okay. All right. Lori asks, is the price the same for the hybrid class?
Excuse me. Yes, it is, because Howard's going through it and teaching you exactly everything. Now, Howard, um, correct me if I'm wrong before I get myself in trouble here. You and Pam have set up certain dates that you're going to allow people to meet you here at the campground. Is that right?
Yeah, if they want to spend a Saturday with us after one of the live courses and deal with any questions or things like that, they're welcome to do that. And in fact, today we have some inspectors here that are inspecting one of the rental units, and we're just about to go over and see them. So yeah, we will spend time with to answer. Typically, what we find is once people think they're going to have a lot of issues afterwards, but once they get through the course, absorb the material, go through an inspection or two, they really they're pretty well covered. They might just have a few mechanical type things or process type issues, but the training and the curriculum as it's set up is quite complete, and the information that we give them after is pretty complete and detailed enough for them to continue to set up their inspection business. But we are always available. Basically, I get the inspectors for life. I get questions even 2 years later. It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, folks, I've been there. I've listened to them answer questions, and it's like somebody got hung up on something, and Pam and Howard work them through it, because that's what you got. You got to have that helpline sometimes, but they're going to help you get there. And trust me, we've been through this. We've been down this road before, and there's probably not many questions that are being asked that we haven't seen or heard of, but it's unique to you, and you need to know the answer.
All right, Mr. Cooper, Tara asked the question, do you have a time frame or a timeline for the GI Bill usage?
Oh, Tara, here's our dilemma. It's called, if we can get these state workers back to work again. That's the key thing. And then we're going to have to push some things through. Good thing about it, I'm going to say my goal is to have this thing humming in the next 90 days. So that's going to put us July, August, probably about the middle of August, and that's what I'm pushing for to get us there, because I never realized all the hoops you got to jump through. And so we actually hired a lady, and this is what she does. And if we hadn't had her, Terry Cooper probably would have been jumping off that balcony out here and just saying, I can't do this anymore. There's just so much red tape you got to go through. So our goal is to have this thing, like I say, in sometime in August. Um, I've had some conversations with our state representative and shared with him. And the chief of staff told me, he said, Cooper, when it's ready, let me know, and we'll make some phone calls and make sure that application, that paperwork is put towards the top of the stack. Also had a chance to visit with the Texas RV Association, and I talked to the executive director, and he told me, he said, Cooper, this is so critical. He said, we will have our lobbyists, once you release this to the workforce, I'll have our lobbyists go around and visit with the individuals that are over the education committee and subcommittee there here in the state of Texas to get this thing through. So trust me, we want it as bad as you do, because I just see there's a lot of people could certainly use it.
All right, Thomas is asking the question, what is the total cost then for levels 1 and 2?
Well, let's see, 1644 and 1145 and 8, 2789. And Thomas, if you want to throw in tools there, you're probably, if you had no pliers, you had no screwdrivers, you had no cordless screw guns, I'm going to say you're probably going to be into this thing for about 3,500 bucks. Is about where you'd be.
Okay. All right, that's the last question I have. Mr. Cooper, if you'd like to have any closing comments.
Other than folks, here's an opportunity. When I was sitting out on the porch the other night watching the ducks out in the pond, I just thought, I am blessed. We are blessed here at the park to have things going and working like they're supposed to. But I'm also hearing some friends that are not having it so good. And so it's like, there has to be a way that we can help others. And here's the thing I want to ask you to do. If you decide to step into this, I want you to help others, because isn't that really what it's all about? I mean, I've reached that age in my life to where I've owned all the toys that and it's like whoopee-doo, who wants another pickup, or I will say I want I want a Tesla, but that's down on my list. But long and short of it, where we get a lot of satisfaction from is helping somebody else. So whether you're traveling and you just happen to pull into a park and you can help somebody, or you happen to put out your sign, or you have your signage on your vehicle, people will come to visit with you if you have some knowledge. And so you're going to be surprised how popular you're going to be in these RV parks, because people are going to have lots of questions. So here's an opportunity for you to make a change in your life and give you hope and give you opportunities that you can live the life that you're supposed to live. Mr. Anderson, that's all I have. Mr. Howard, do you have anything?
Any parting words, Mr. Jarris?
Come on, we need people, lots of people. NRVIA sends out emails every week for people. We just don't have inspectors in the areas that we need them. So plenty of opportunities for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
What Stephanie will do, folks, is that if when you go to the nrvia.org website and you go in there to where you locate an inspector, and that's one of the ways that you help market yourself, and Howard shows you that. But sometimes we don't have anybody in that area. So what Stephanie will do is she'll do an all call to every inspector out there. It's amazing how many times someone will get picked up because there was somebody happened to be driving through as a work camper. And they said, hey, I can pick that one up and pay for my fuel or pay for, my stays. But like Howard said, on a weekly basis, we get people that just, say, I'd like to have an inspection. Do you have anybody in my area? So take a look at your area and see if you're one of those places that could use RV inspection. Or if you're going to travel, take a look about your gig that you're going to do as a work camper. Look at your schedule. It may be such that you can work something out. If you're working at a campground or you're working with somebody else and they've got you on a set schedule, that maybe on your off days you can do inspections. So there's a little creativity will go a long ways to getting you into this groove and get you something going. All righty.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. Thank you, Mr. Jarris. We appreciate everyone staying with us. We had a good crowd who stayed on the entire time with us. We appreciate you all. So we appreciate you being with us for this version of From the Horse's Mouth, and we look forward to seeing many of you at the NRVTA training facility in Texas, and all of you folks doing training online. It's all going to be a good thing. So thank you very much and have a phenomenal day. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.